So I think you're going to be the villain of all of this then. So you don't believe...
You get me. You just get me. You only need me.
This wouldn't be money well spent as far as you're concerned.
Look, I think that he's entitled to put up this statue, but I think it's very misleading. I think the British have this great way of, as George Orwell once famously said, they're very hypocritical with their history of the British. And I think to put up this statue because this West African squadron, you don't get to make vast amounts of profit on the backs of suffering and genocide of black slaves and then say, well, let's give ourselves a pat on the back, actually, because we did help save 150,000. And I would also question the motives. So after 200 years of slavery, you then wake up one day and suddenly you're on a moral high horse.
Well, you could say better late than never, couldn't you?
No, you couldn't say better late than never. I'd say that is completely the wrong thing to say, because actually you made all your money and suddenly it wasn't profitable anymore. And suddenly, actually, how will we look in the world? In the world, we want to look like we're on the moral high horse and we will try and end slavery. I'm not saying that the sailors who did die, yes. I'm saying that, you know, their motives were probably genuine. But I'd say in terms of the British motives, you made your money and now you want to pat on the back.
Well, we've done this in Belfast now. I wasn't even aware Belfast had any connection with slavery, but big port like Liverpool would be, or Newcastle or Glasgow.
Bristol.
And they've put up a picture of a guy I've never heard of in Belfast city centre. So we're all sort of aware now of our connection and how this guy abolished slavery. So there's a sort of feel-good factor around
gosh, well, that's just your white saviour guild. It's a bit like a sword in your guild for all the wrongs that were done. And actually, let's celebrate this one man. What about all the 3.4 million black slaves that were, and so many were killed, and therefore you now put up a statue of a white man.
This is the
and
same,
this kind of white saviour.
This is going to be the same row we're going to get with Gaza and Israel. It'll never be able to be solved because everybody will always go back in time and remember the wrongs that were done against their people.
But this isn't, see, that's the other thing, Eamon. I think we go on this, well, that was hundreds of years ago. That's an excuse, because guess what? We still have systematic racism in this country, and actually people are still suffering. In the Caribbean, how much poverty?
Would it not heal your little grandchildren or whatever when they come into the world? Would that not heal that you go back and you say, look, there was a good person and this horribleness existed?
No, because the ramifications of slavery are still felt today. We have systematic racism, and actually there's poverty in the Caribbean. They're poor. And guess what? People in this country are rich. And that's not right, because it's still felt today. We can't ignore this.
So what would appease things for you?
I think reparations. I think that the Caribbean countries...
Paying money to the Caribbean countries.
How can you not? How can you sit rich in your own house knowing you took from other people in an oppressive and disgusting manner? These people were treated terribly. Yeah. You can't live your life thinking, well, it was hundreds of years ago. It's an excuse.
Well, she puts it very powerfully. Do you agree with her, Narinder Kaur, there?
They won't agree with me.
Well,